3 months after the battle, Captain Yuna walked through the streets of Valora Prime's capital and marveled at how much had changed. The city was alive again. Children played in parks. Markets were full of people buying and selling. The plague was gone. The crimson rot had been completely eradicated from every colony in the Republic. The human memorial stood in the central plaza. It was a simple monument made of black stone. 4,000 names were carved into it. 4,000 humans who had died defending a world that wasn't their own. Captain Jiwan's name was near the top. Yuna placed flowers at the base like she did every week. She wasn't alone. Dozens of Valorans came daily to honor the humans who had saved them. Some left flowers. Some left messages. Some just stood quietly and remembered. They really did it, a voice said beside her. Ambassador Taehyun stood there also holding flowers. They came to help strangers and died for us. I didn't believe it was possible, Yuna admitted. When those battleships arrived, I thought we were being invaded. I was so wrong. We all were. Taehyun placed his flowers with the others. The humans showed us something we had forgotten. That helping others sometimes requires strength. That mercy and power aren't opposites. The final casualty numbers were hard to look at. 4,000 human military personnel killed. 2 ships completely destroyed, including Busan's shield. 5 ships heavily damaged. Seoul's Fury had barely made it through the battle. It was still in orbit being repaired, but the numbers on the other side told a different story. Over 200 million Valoran lives saved from the plague. Every infected person had been treated. The cure was now freely available to any world that needed it. The Drexian Empire had been humiliated and forced to accept sanctions from the Galactic Council. Dr. Hana had stayed for 2 months after the battle. She had worked with Dr. Yoonji to establish permanent medical facilities. They had trained Valoran doctors in the human treatment methods. They had written papers together about the cure. When it was finally time for Hana to leave, Yoonji had cried. "You saved my world," Yoonji had said. "How do I thank you for that?" "You already did," Hana replied. "You worked beside us. You learned from us. You'll teach others. The cure will spread because of you. That's all the thanks I need." Combat Medic Nari had been awarded the Valoran Star of Honor. It was the highest decoration the Republic could give. She was the first human to receive it. When asked how it felt, she had shrugged. "I just did my job. So did everyone else. The real heroes are the ones who didn't make it home." Pilot Sora had survived her injuries from the battle. She had been shot down during the final attack run but ejected in time. Her fighter was destroyed, but she was alive. She stayed on Valora for a month recovering. Valoran children visited her in the hospital every day, bringing her drawings and asking her to tell stories about the battle. She complained that she was terrible with kids, but everyone noticed she kept all the drawings. Commander Jinwoo had established something new before leaving. The first multi-species marine training program. Valoran volunteers were learning human combat techniques. In return, humans were learning Valoran strategy. The program was small, but it was a start. Maybe someday, there would be a true combined defense force. The political aftermath was even more significant than the military victory. The Galactic Council had held an emergency session 2 weeks after the battle. The subject was humanity's application for membership. Earth had applied years ago but been repeatedly denied. The older species found humans too aggressive, too unpredictable, too dangerous. Ambassador Taehyun had changed that. He stood before the council and gave a speech that would be remembered for generations. Distinguished members of the council, for years you have debated whether humanity deserves a place among us. You cite their military strength as a reason to exclude them. You point to their warships and call them dangerous. Today I tell you that you are wrong. The council chamber murmured with disapproval. Taehyun continued. Yes, the humans have warships. Yes, they are skilled warriors. But they are also healers. They are also protectors. When my people called for help, this council debated. We discussed. We formed committees. We scheduled meetings. And while we talked, millions died. The humans didn't debate. They didn't form committees. They sent battleships filled with doctors. They brought warriors to protect healers. And they stayed when it would have been safer to leave. 4,000 humans died defending my world. Not for territory. Not for resources. But because we asked for help and they said yes. You call them dangerous? I call them committed. You call them aggressive? I call them brave. They didn't bring warships instead of medical aid. They brought warships to ensure the medical aid could work. There's a difference. The Drexians attacked us with a biological weapon. This council condemned them with words. The humans stopped them with action. I ask you now, which approach actually helped? Which approach actually saved lives? The council was silent. Taehyun pressed his advantage. I move that humanity be granted full membership in the Galactic Council immediately, and I propose that we adopt what I'm calling the human protocol. When responding to humanitarian crises, we should follow the human example. Send aid, send protection, send commitment. Stop debating and start helping. The vote was close, but humanity won. Earth was now a full member of the Galactic Council. It had taken a war to prove they deserved it, but the proof was undeniable. Admiral Minho attended the council session via hologram. His ship was still too damaged to travel, but he was present for the vote. When it passed, he allowed himself a small smile. Thank you, members of the council. Earth looks forward to working with you all, and if any of you ever need help, you know where to find us. Back on Earth, the news was celebrated. Humanity had joined the galactic community not through conquest or trade, but through sacrifice. It was the right way to do it. The United Nations held ceremonies honoring the fallen. The families of the dead received honors and recognition, but nothing could replace what they had lost. On Valora, reconstruction continued. Human engineers helped rebuild damaged infrastructure. Human medical advisors stayed to train local doctors. Human ships continued to patrol the system, ensuring the Drexians didn't try anything else. Xenobiologist Suman received dozens of requests from other species. They wanted her expertise in fighting biological weapons. They wanted to learn human medical techniques. She was overwhelmed but happy. She chose to stay in Valoran space for another year, teaching and researching. She would go home eventually. But there was work to do first. The Drexian Empire retreated into isolation. They had been humiliated by a numerically inferior force. Their biological weapon had been defeated. Their fleet had been shattered. Warlord Dongyun was removed from command and arrested for his failures. The Drexians would not threaten anyone for a long time. Other species began requesting human assistance with their own problems. A colony world facing pirates asked for help. A merchant fleet dealing with raiders called Earth. A plague on a distant world needed medical intervention. Each time, humanity responded the same way. They sent warships filled with specialists. They sent warriors to protect civilians. They sent commitment. The human protocol became the standard across the galaxy. No more sending unarmed aid workers into dangerous situations. No more hoping threats would leave peacefully. Security and assistance went together now. It was the human way, and it worked. On the one-year anniversary of the battle, a massive ceremony was held on Valora Prime. Representatives from 30 species attended. Admiral Minho, now promoted to fleet commander, stood at the memorial with Captain Yuna and Ambassador Taehyun. A year ago, we came here expecting the worst, Minho said to the crowd. We expected a fight. We expected losses. What we didn't expect was to gain friends, to gain allies, to gain respect. Captain Yuna spoke next. A year ago, we asked for help and received more than we imagined. The humans brought weapons and medicine, soldiers and doctors, strength and compassion. They taught us that these things are not opposites. They are partners. Ambassador Taehyun had the final words. Today, we don't just remember those who fell. We celebrate what they achieved. They proved that different species can work together. That help means commitment. That the strong should protect the weak, not prey on them. This memorial stands as a reminder. When someone calls for help, you answer. The humans answered. May we all learn to do the same. The ceremony ended with a moment of silence. 4,000 names on a black stone monument. 4,000 humans who had made a difference. After the crowds left, Dr. Yunji found Nari standing alone at the memorial. You came back. I had to, Nari said. I needed to see everyone's names again. To remember why we did this. Do you regret it? Staying to fight when you could have left? Nari shook her head. Never. We made a promise. We kept it. That's what matters. Yunji looked at the names carved in stone. I received another message today. A colony world 3 sectors away. They have a medical crisis. They're asking if human doctors can come. And I told them yes. I'm going. I learned from the best. Now it's my turn to help others. Nari smiled. That's the spirit. Need an armed escort. I know some Marines looking for work. The Drexian fleet appeared on sensors exactly when Intelligence Officer Sungmin predicted. 23 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Valoran system. They moved in perfect formation toward the planet. They looked unstoppable. Admiral Minho stood on the bridge of Sol's Fury and watched them come. His 7 ships were positioned in a defensive sphere around Valora Prime. The Valoran Defense Force had added 12 more ships to the defense, but most of them were light frigates. They would help, but this was primarily a human fight. All ships, this is Admiral Minho. Battle stations. Prepare for combat operations. Today we show these bastards what happens when they threaten innocent people. Across the fleet, humans rushed to their positions. Weapons powered up. Shields activated. Fighter pilots climbed into their cockpits. The waiting was over. The battle was beginning. The Drexian fleet commander opened a communication channel. His face appeared on the view screen. Warlord Dongyun looked exactly like someone who enjoyed inflicting pain. Human vessels. You have interfered with Drexian military operations. You have one opportunity to leave this system alive. Withdraw immediately. Leave the Velerans to their fate, Minho stepped forward. Warlord Donghyun. We received the Valoran distress call. We responded. We're saving lives. If you have a problem with that, you're welcome to try and stop us. You're outnumbered more than 3 to 1. This is suicide. Maybe, but here's something you should know about humans. We survived everything our homeworld threw at us. Ice ages, plagues, predators, each other. We're really, really hard to kill. And we're absolutely terrible at knowing when to quit. Minho's voice hardened. Leave now, Warlord. Leave. Or learn why humanity earned its place in the stars. Dongyun laughed. Brave words from a dead man. Attack. Destroy them all. The Drexian fleet surged forward. They had numbers. They had firepower. They had every advantage except one. They weren't fighting for something that mattered. The humans were. All ships engage at will. Make every shot count. Fighter wing, launch now. Pilot Sora was first off the deck. Her fighter screamed out of the hangar bay with 30 others behind her. Fighter wing forming up. We're ready to dance. The space between the fleets erupted in fire. Missiles streaked across the void. Energy weapons lit up the darkness. The Battle of Valora Prime had begun. Sol's Fury took the first hit. A Drexian cruiser landed a solid shot on the forward shields. The ship shook but held. Return fire. Target that cruiser. Show them what our main guns can do. The human flagship's primary weapons fired. They hit with tremendous force. The Drexian cruiser's shields collapsed. The second shot punched through its armor. The third shot tore through its engine section. The cruiser went dark and began drifting, 1 down. 22 to go, Minho said calmly. Keep firing! Captain Jiwan commanded Busan's shield from the edge of the formation. Her frigate was smaller and faster than the capital ships. She used that advantage. All power to engines. We're going to run circles around these big slow bastards. Her ship darted between enemy vessels, firing as it went. She targeted weapon systems and engines. She didn't try to destroy the enemy ships. She just tried to cripple them. It was working. 3 Drexian ships were limping away with damaged thrusters, but the Drexians were landing hits too. A human destroyer took severe damage and fell back from the line. A Valoran frigate exploded when its reactor was hit. The defense was holding, but barely. Sora led her fighter squadron in a suicide run against a Drexian capital ship. All fighters follow my lead. We're going for the command tower. Sora, that's insane, her wingman protested. Their point defense will tear us apart. Then fly better. She pushed her throttle to maximum. 20 fighters followed her into hell. The Drexian point defense systems opened fire, space filled with deadly energy beams. 3 fighters died in the first 5 seconds. 2 more were hit but kept flying. Sora jinked and weaved, trusting her instincts and reflexes. She could see the command tower getting closer. Almost there. Almost there. Fire everything! 20 fighters unleashed their missiles at point-blank range. The Drexian ship's shields were designed to stop long-range attacks, not close-quarter strikes. The missiles punched through and hit the command tower. Explosions ripped through the structure. The ship lost coordination. Its guns stopped firing in sync. Pull out. Pull out! Sora yanked her fighter into a hard turn. 12 fighters made it out. 8 didn't. She felt each loss like a knife in her chest. But the Drexian ship was crippled. That's what mattered. On the ground, Commander Jinwoo heard the battle raging overhead. His Marines were still guarding the hospitals. Stay alert, people. If any Drexians make it through, they'll come for the medical facilities. We don't let them through. Sure enough, a Drexian strike team dropped from orbit. They landed near the main hospital in the capital. 20 armored soldiers with orders to destroy the cure manufacturing facility. They didn't expect the Marines to be so ready. Jinwoo's people hit them from 3 sides. Automated turrets opened fire. Snipers took out targets from rooftops. Marines in powered armor charged into melee range. The Drexian team lasted 3 minutes before they were all dead or captured. This is Commander Jinwoo to all ground units. The Drexians are trying ground assault. Increase perimeter security. If anything that's not Velaran or human gets within a kilometer of a hospital, kill it. In the hospital, Nari heard the fighting outside. She kept working. A patient needed her. The patient didn't care about the battle. The patient just wanted to live. So Nari made sure he did. Then she moved to the next patient. And the next Dr. Yunji worked beside her. How can you stay so calm? There's a battle happening. Because my job doesn't stop for battles, Nari said. Commander Jinwoo handles the fighting. I handle the healing. We each do our part. In space, the battle was reaching its peak. The human fleet had destroyed 5 Drexian ships and disabled 4 more. But they had paid a price. 2 human destroyers were critically damaged. Sol's Fury had lost shields and was fighting with armor alone. The Valoran ships were down to 8 vessels. Admiral, we can't take much more of this, his tactical officer warned. Hull breaches on decks 5 through 7. We're losing atmosphere. Seal those sections. Keep fighting. Minho pulled up the tactical display. The Drexians still had 14 functional ships. The math was getting worse. Then Captain Jiwon did something insane. Her frigate, already damaged and limping, turned directly toward a Drexian carrier. The massive enemy ship was launching more fighters to swarm the human fleet. Busan's shield to all ships. I'm making a run. Cover me. Jiwon, what are you doing? Minho demanded. Something stupid. But it'll work. Tell my family I died doing something awesome. Her frigate accelerated to ramming speed. The Drexian carrier tried to shoot her down, but the other human ships provided covering fire. Jiwon's ship took hit after hit. Her shields failed. Her armor glowed red-hot. But she kept going. For Earth. For Valora. For everyone who ever needed help and got it. The frigate hit the carrier at full speed. The explosion was visible across the entire system. Both ships were destroyed instantly. The carrier's fighter bays erupted in secondary explosions. Fighters still inside were consumed by fire. The massive ship broke in half and started falling toward the planet. The battlefield went quiet for a moment. Everyone, human and Drexian alike, stared at what Jiwon had done. One small frigate had destroyed a ship 10 times its size through sheer courage and determination. Minho felt tears on his face. Captain Jiwon, your sacrifice is honored. All ships for Captain Jiwon. Make her proud. Attack! The human fleet surged forward with renewed fury. They stopped fighting defensively. They stopped trying to survive. They just attacked with everything they had. Humans didn't know how to lose gracefully. They only knew how to fight harder. Xenobiologist Sumin had an idea. She pulled up the plague data again. The genetic therapy they had developed could be weaponized. She ran to Admiral Minho with her proposal. Sir, I can turn the cure into a weapon. The Drexians are immune to their own plague because of that control sequence. If I deploy an aerosol form of our cure in the battle zone, it will neutralize any bioweapons they try to use. Do it. Anything that helps. Suman loaded the cure into missile warheads. They were fired at the Drexian ships. The missiles didn't explode normally. They burst open and released clouds of the genetic therapy. It spread through the battle zone. If the Drexians tried to use biological weapons now, they would fail. Warlord Donghyun watched his fleet falling apart and felt panic for the first time. These humans were supposed to be easy targets. They were supposed to break and run. Instead, they fought like cornered predators. They sacrificed ships without hesitation. They turned everything into weapons. All ships fall back. Retreat to the fortress. But the humans weren't done. Sora led the remaining fighters in another attack run, this time targeting the Warlord's flagship. I'm tired of this guy's face. Let's remove it from existence. Her fighters swarmed the flagship. They targeted the engines. One by one, the drives went offline. The ship couldn't run. It couldn't even maneuver. Warlord Donghyun, this is Admiral Minho. Surrender now. You've lost? Donghyun looked at his tactical display. He had started with 23 ships. 11 were destroyed. 6 were too damaged to fight. Xenobiologist Suman stared at the microscope display for the 100th time. She had been studying the plague for 3 days straight with almost no sleep. Coffee and determination kept her going. The crimson rot was like nothing she had ever seen. It was elegant in its cruelty. Whoever designed it was a genius. An evil genius, but still a genius. "Dr. Suman, you need to rest," her assistant said. "You'll collapse if you keep this up." "I'll rest when I understand this thing," Suman muttered. She pulled up another genetic sequence on her screen. "It's a virus, but it's been heavily modified. Look at these protein markers. They're artificial. This is engineered biology." She zoomed in on a particular section of genetic code. Something caught her eye. A sequence that didn't quite fit. It was like finding a wrong note in a song. She ran it through her analysis software. The results made her sit up straight. "Oh, you clever bastards. A what?" "What did you find?" "A kill switch." Suman pointed at the screen. "The Drexians built a control mechanism into the virus. This sequence right here responds to a specific chemical compound. When it detects that compound, it shuts down the virus's replication. That's how they control it. That's why their people don't get sick." Her assistant looked at the data. "Can we synthesize the compound?" "Maybe, but there's a better way." Suman started pulling up Earth biology databases. On Earth, we had similar problems with engineered viruses during the bio-wars. We learned how to break them. "If I can disrupt this control sequence, I can make the virus kill itself." She worked through the night. By morning, she had a theoretical treatment. By afternoon, she had a practical one. The cure involved a combination of human antiviral drugs and a genetic therapy that targeted the virus's artificial sequences. It was aggressive. It was risky. But her models showed it would work. Dr. Hanna reviewed the data with tired eyes. This could save them. But the treatment itself is dangerous. Some patients might not survive it. They definitely won't survive the plague, Suman pointed out. Our models show a 90% success rate with the treatment. Without it, the death rate is almost 100%. The choice is clear. You're right, Dr. Hanna made the decision. We'll start human trials immediately. I need volunteers among the critical patients. Explain the risks. Explain the benefits. Let them choose. The first test subject was a young male Valoran who was hours from death. His family gave permission for the experimental treatment. Nari administered the cure with steady hands. The patient's body reacted violently at first. His fever spiked. His heart rate jumped. For 10 terrible minutes, it looked like the treatment would kill him. Then the fever broke. The red marks on his skin began to fade. His organ functions started improving. By the next day, he was conscious and asking for water. "It works," Dr. Hanna announced to her medical teams. "Start mass production immediately. We need enough for every infected person in the Republic." Word spread quickly. The humans had a cure. Hope returned to the Valoran people for the first time in weeks. Human medical teams worked around the clock treating patients. The recovery rate exceeded even Suman's optimistic predictions. 94% of treated patients survived. Dr. Yunji was a Valoran physician who worked alongside the human doctors. She watched them with amazement. They never stopped. They never gave up. When a patient was dying, they fought for them with everything they had. She saw Nari work a 48-hour shift without rest, running from patient to patient, refusing to stop while lives were at stake. "Why do you push yourself so hard?" Yunji asked during a rare quiet moment. Nari looked at her with exhausted eyes. "Because we can. Because they need us. On Earth we have a saying, 'Not on my watch.' It means I don't let people die while I'm here to save them. I sleep when everyone is safe," Unji understood then. The humans didn't separate healing from fighting. Both were forms of survival. Both required the same commitment. But while the humans saved lives on the ground, a threat was building in space. Intelligence Officer Sungmin sat in the analysis center aboard Sol's Fury and reviewed intercepted communications. The Drexians were talking, a lot, and they were angry. "Admiral Minho, you need to see this," Sungmin said. He pulled up the communications log. "The Drexians have been watching us. They're not happy that we're curing their plague." Minho read the intercepts. "They're mobilizing a fleet." "How big?" "At least 20 ships. Maybe more. They're gathering at their border fortress." Sungmin highlighted a star system on the map. "Intelligence suggests they're planning an attack. They want to destroy us before we can distribute the cure to all the colonies." "When?" "Maybe a week. Maybe less. They're moving fast." Minho called an emergency meeting with his senior officers. Captain Jiwon of the frigate Busan's Shield attended via hologram. Commander Jinwoo linked in from the surface. Pilot Sora joined from the fighter bay. The situation is clear, Minho said. The Drexians are coming. They're bringing a large force. We have 7 ships. They'll have 3 times that many. Can we get reinforcements? Jiwan asked. Not in time. The nearest Earth fleet is 2 weeks away. We're on our own. Then we evacuate, Commander Jinwoo suggested. We load up the medical teams and leave. We saved a lot of lives. That's enough, is it? Minho looked at the map showing Valoran colonies. We've treated maybe 60% of the infected. The other 40% still need the cure. If we leave now, millions die. If we stay, we might die, Sora pointed out. 20 Drexian warships against 7 human ships. Those aren't good odds. No, they're not, Minho agreed. But here's what I know. We came here to help. We made a promise to these people. If we run at the first sign of danger, what does that say about humanity? What does that say about us? The room was quiet. Then Jiwon spoke. It says we're cowards. And we're not cowards. Damn right we're not, Jinwoo added from the surface. My Marines didn't come here to run away. We came to finish the job, Sora cracked her knuckles. Well, I always wanted to know if I could take on 3 enemy ships at once. Looks like I'll find out. Minho allowed himself a small smile. That's what I wanted to hear. All right, people. We're staying. We're fighting. And we're winning. Start preparations. I want every ship at peak combat readiness. I want fighters armed and ready to launch. I want our defense plan perfect. What about the Valorans? Seungmin asked. Should we tell them? Yes, they deserve to know what's coming. Ambassador Taehyun should inform his government. The meeting ended. Minho stayed behind, staring at the tactical display. 20 enemy ships. 7 human ships. The numbers were bad. But numbers weren't everything. Humans had won against worse odds before. On the surface, Nari received word of the coming battle. She was in the middle of treating a patient. She didn't stop working. How long do we have? Maybe a week, her commanding officer told her. Then we have a week to save as many people as possible. She moved to the next patient. Get me more cure batches. I want to work faster. Suman was already ahead of her. She had turned every human ship into a pharmaceutical factory. Every lab was producing the cure. Every medical bay was storing it. They would save as many people as possible before the battle came. In the Drexian border fortress, Warlord Donghyun reviewed his battle plans with satisfaction. The humans had interfered with Drexian interests. They had ruined a perfectly good biological weapon. They would pay for that mistake. How many ships do the humans have? He asked his tactical officer. 7 warships, Warlord. All heavy class, but outnumbered. And we have? 23 ships ready for battle. More can be called if needed, Dongyun smiled. We won't need more. 23 against 7. We'll crush them. Then we'll finish what the plague started. The Valoran Republic will fall and we'll take their territory. When do we attack? 5 days. Give them time to feel safe. Then we strike hard and fast. I want the human fleet destroyed within the first hour. The Drexian ships began moving into position. Scouts reported back that the humans were preparing defenses but showed no signs of retreating. Dongyun found that amusing. Either the humans were incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. He'd find out which when the battle started. Back on Valora Prime, Ambassador Taehyun met with Admiral Minho one more time. You're staying. Even though you're outnumbered. We're staying, Minho confirmed. Why? This isn't your fight. These aren't your people. Minho looked out at the planet below. Cities were starting to recover. People were returning to their lives. You asked for help, Ambassador. We don't do things halfway. We came here to save lives. That job isn't finished yet. So yes, we're staying. We'll fight off the Drexians. We'll protect your people. And when it's done, we'll finish distributing the cure. You might die. We might. But we'll die doing something that matters. That's better than living having done nothing. Taehyun felt his respect for humans grow even deeper. Then we'll fight beside you. I'll convince our defense force to join the battle. Every ship helps, Minho said. Tell your people to be ready. When the Drexians come, we hit them with everything we have. Ambassador Taehyun had never been this nervous in his entire diplomatic career. He stood in the docking bay of the human flagship and waited. The ship was enormous from the outside. Inside, it was even more intimidating. The corridors were wide enough to move heavy equipment. The walls were thick metal with blast doors every 50 meters. Everything was designed for war. Human soldiers stood at attention along the corridor. They wore armor that made them look twice their normal size. Powered armor, his briefing files called it. The helmets hid their faces. They held weapons that looked brutal and efficient. These were not ceremonial guards. These were warriors ready to fight. A door opened. A human walked through. He wore a dark blue uniform with insignia that marked him as high rank. His hair was black with gray at the sides. His eyes were sharp and calculating. He moved with the confidence of someone who had seen many battles and won most of them. Ambassador Taehyun, I'm Admiral Minho. Welcome aboard Soul's Fury. The Admiral extended his hand. Taehyun knew this gesture. Humans shook hands to greet each other. He reached out and felt the Admiral's firm grip. Admiral, thank you for coming. Though I must admit your arrival has caused some confusion. Minho smiled slightly. I imagine it has. Come, let's talk somewhere more comfortable. And I'll introduce you to Dr. Hana. She's in charge of the medical operations. They walked through the ship. Taehyun saw more soldiers. He saw weapons being maintained. He saw ammunition being loaded. But he also saw something unexpected. Medical supplies? Lots of them. Crates marked with red crosses. Equipment that looked like surgical tools. And people in white coats working alongside the soldiers. They entered a meeting room. A woman was already there, studying a data pad. She looked up and smiled. Ambassador, I'm Dr. Hana. I'll be coordinating the medical relief efforts. Doctor? Taehyun bowed slightly. Can you explain what's happening? We asked for medical help, but your fleet is armed for war. Dr. Hana and Admiral Minho exchanged glances. The Admiral spoke first. Ambassador, let me ask you a question. Your plague isn't natural, correct? No, the Drexians created it. They used it as a weapon. And do you think the Drexians are happy that someone is trying to cure it? Taehyun paused. He hadn't thought about that. No, probably not. Exactly, Minho said. We studied your situation before we came. Your plague is a biological weapon. Someone made it. That someone has military forces. If we show up with undefended medical ships, what do you think happens? Understanding dawned on Taehyun. They attack. They destroy the cure before it can spread. Now you're thinking like a human, Dr. Hana said. We want to help you, but we won't be much help if we're dead. So we bring protection. These battleships aren't here to conquer you. They're here to make sure I can do my job. On Earth, Admiral Minho continued, we have a saying. We don't send doctors into war zones without the means to protect them. Your space is a war zone right now. You just don't realize it yet. Taehyun sat down. His legs felt weak. So you really are here to help? The weapons and soldiers are for defense? Defense and security, Minho confirmed. My ships will establish a defensive perimeter. Dr. Hana's teams will deploy to your plague zones. We'll also send soldiers to guard the hospitals and medical facilities. No one will stop us from saving lives. Not the Drexians. Not anyone. Dr. Hana pulled up a holographic display. It showed a map of the Valoran Republic. We've already identified the hardest hit areas. I have 15 medical teams ready to deploy immediately. Each team has 50 doctors, nurses, and medical technicians. They'll need security escorts and protected landing zones. Commander Jinwoo is handling the ground forces, Minho added. He's already planning the deployments. His Marines will secure each hospital before our medical teams arrive. Marines? Taehyun asked. Ground soldiers. Elite infantry. They'll make sure your people can be treated safely. Taehyun felt overwhelmed. The humans had planned everything. They had thought of threats the Valorans hadn't even considered. How soon can you start? Within the hour, Dr. Hana said. But I need your government's permission. We're offering help, not forcing it. If you want us to leave, we'll leave. No, Taehyun said quickly. Please stay, help us. We're dying out there. Then let's get to work. Dr. Hana stood up. I'll brief my teams. Admiral, can you coordinate with Valoran traffic control? I need clear flight paths for our medical transports. Already on it. Minho turned to Taehyun. Ambassador, you should inform your people what's about to happen. It might look scary at first. Armed soldiers will be everywhere, but they're there to help, not hurt. Taehyun nodded and left to make the calls. Within 30 minutes, human transport ships began launching from the warships. They headed for the surface. Each one carried medical personnel and supplies. Each one had an escort of armored Marines. On the ground, at the largest hospital in the capital city, the staff watched the sky with mixed feelings. Some felt hope. Others felt fear. Then the transports landed in the parking areas. The doors opened. Combat medic Nari was the first one out. She wore armor like the Marines, but hers was marked with red medical symbols. She carried both a medical kit and a rifle. Behind her, more medics emerged. Then came doctors in protective suits. Then came heavy equipment on floating platforms. "I'm Nari, Human Medical Corps," she announced through a translator. "We're here to set up advanced treatment facilities." "Where are your sickest patients?" A Velaran doctor stumbled forward. "Inside. But we have hundreds. Maybe thousands. We can't keep up." "You're not alone anymore," Nari said. "Show us where they are." The Velaran doctor led them inside. The sight was horrific. Patients lay on the floor because all the beds were full. The air smelled of death and despair. Velaran medical staff moved through the chaos with exhausted faces. They were losing the battle. Nari didn't hesitate. "Team 1 set up the emergency unit in the main hall. Team 2 established the intensive care section in the East Wing. Combat engineers, I need power generators installed immediately. We're going to need a lot of electricity." Human soldiers in powered armor moved through the hospital. They carried equipment that would have taken Valoran workers hours to move. They set up portable generators, medical scanners, and treatment beds. Within 20 minutes, the humans had transformed the lobby into a functioning emergency room. Dr. Hana arrived with the second wave. She looked at the suffering patients and felt her heart break. But she didn't let emotion stop her. "All right, people. Let's save some lives. I want blood samples from 50 patients immediately. I need to see what this plague does on a cellular level." Outside the hospital, Commander Jinwoo had his Marines setting up a security perimeter. They placed automated turrets on the roof. They established checkpoints at every entrance. They patrolled the streets around the hospital. A Valoran military officer named Hyunwoo approached. "Is all this really necessary? We're a peaceful world." Jinwoo looked at him. "Sir, someone released a biological weapon on your peaceful world. That someone might not want us fixing their handiwork. My job is to make sure they can't stop us. If we're wrong and nothing happens, great. But if we're right and we're not prepared, a lot of people die. I prefer to be wrong and ready than right and dead." Hyunwoo watched the Marines work. They moved with practiced efficiency. Every position had interlocking fields of fire. Every approach was covered. These humans were very good at what they did. Inside the hospital, Nari was treating her first Valoran patient. The young female was covered in the red marks of the plague. Her fever was dangerously high. Her organs were starting to fail. "Hang on," Nari said softly. "We're going to fix this." She administered drugs that would stabilize the patient. She hooked her up to machines that would support her failing body. She worked with speed and confidence. The Valoran doctor watched in amazement. "Your methods are so aggressive. Aren't you worried about harming her?" "She's dying," Nari said bluntly. "The disease is already harming her. My job is to hit back harder. On Earth, we learned that sometimes you have to break things to fix them." She started another IV line. "She'll survive. I promise." Across the planet, similar scenes played out. Human medical teams deployed to every major plague zone, always with military protection, always with determination. They brought equipment the Valorans had never seen. They used techniques that seemed dangerous but worked. And in orbit, Admiral Minho watched his sensors carefully. 7 human warships maintained their positions. Their weapons were powered up. Their shields were active. The medical mission had begun. Now came the hard part, keeping everyone safe while they saved lives. "Admiral, we're detecting scout ships on the edge of the system," his tactical officer reported. Drexian signatures. Minho's face hardened. "They're watching us. They want to see what we're doing." He turned to his communications officer. "Send a message on all frequencies. Tell the Drexians that this system is under Earth's protection. Any hostile action will be met with overwhelming force." The message was sent. The Drexian ships lingered for a moment, then jumped away. "They'll be back," Minho said quietly. "They'll come with more ships next time." His first officer looked concerned. "Should we call for reinforcements?" "Not yet. Let's see what they do. But prepare the fleet for combat. If they want to fight, we'll give them one they won't forget." Captain Yuna stood on the bridge of her medical vessel and watched the screens with tired eyes. The numbers kept getting worse. Another colony reported 1,000 new cases, then another 500. The crimson rot was killing her people faster than anyone could count. "Captain, we're losing Colony 7, her medical officer said quietly. His voice shook. "Their hospitals are full. They're putting the sick in schools now. Yuna closed her eyes. Colony 7 had 3 million people. Had past tense felt more accurate now. The plague moved through populations like fire through dry grass. It started with red marks on the skin, then fever, then the organs failed one by one. Velaran medicine could do nothing. They had tried everything. This isn't natural, she said. Plagues don't move this fast. They don't kill this efficiently. Her tactical officer nodded. Intelligence confirmed it 2 days ago. The Drexians made this. They released it during the border dispute. It's a weapon. Yuna felt anger burn in her chest. The Drexians had turned disease into a tool of war. They had murdered millions without firing a single shot. And worst of all, they had the cure. Drexian soldiers didn't get sick. Only Velarans died. The council is meeting today, her officer continued. They're discussing the human option. Yuna had heard about the humans. Everyone had. They were new to the galactic community. They had appeared 5 years ago with faster-than-light travel and a strange attitude. They didn't ask permission to explore. They didn't seek approval from older species. They just went where they wanted and did what they pleased. Most species found them rude. Some found them dangerous. What do we know about their medicine? Yuna asked. Not much. They're secretive. But our scouts say their medical knowledge is different, more aggressive than ours. They cut into bodies to fix them. They use chemicals that would be toxic to most species. Their methods seem primitive, but their survival rates are high. Primitive methods that work, Yuna said. Better than advanced methods that fail. The communication panel beeped. Captain, Ambassador Taehyun wants to speak with you. Yuna accepted the call. The ambassador's face appeared on screen. He looked older than she remembered. The plague had aged everyone. Captain Yuna, the council has made a decision. We're going to contact the humans. About time, she said. What took so long? Taehyun sighed. Fear, mostly. Some council members worry about inviting humans into our space. They have a reputation for being intense. But we're out of options. I'm sending the distress call now. I'm requesting medical supplies and doctors. I'm offering trade agreements and technology sharing in return. Do you think they'll come? Yuna asked. I don't know. We're strangers to them. They might ignore us. They might demand too high a price, or... He paused. Or they might help. We'll find out soon. The call ended. Yuna returned to watching the medical reports. Every minute more people died. She imagined human doctors arriving with their strange methods and aggressive treatments. She imagined them actually saving lives. It was a nice dream. 3 days passed. The plague spread to 2 more colonies. The death count reached 15 million. The council held emergency sessions every day. Some members wanted to surrender to the Drexians and beg for the cure. Others wanted to fight and die with dignity. Everyone felt helpless. Then the sensors detected something. Captain, we have incoming ships, her tactical officer said. His voice was excited. They just appeared on long-range scanners. They're coming fast. Yuna felt hope rise in her chest. How many medical ships? The officer stared at his screen. His excitement died. Captain, these aren't medical ships. I'm reading 7 vessels. All of them are military class. Heavy military class, what? Yuna moved to look at the sensor data herself. Her officer was right. The ships approaching were huge. They were covered in armor plating. They had weapons. Lots of weapons. These were warships built for battle. Get me Ambassador Taehyun. Now. The ambassador appeared on screen immediately. Captain, are you seeing this? I'm seeing it. Those are battleships, Ambassador. You called for doctors. Why are warships coming? I don't know, maybe. Maybe they're escorting medical ships. Maybe the hospital vessels are behind them. But as the ships got closer, no other vessels appeared. Just the 7 warships. They moved into orbit around Valora Prime with perfect military precision. They arranged themselves in combat formation. Fighter craft launched from their bays and began patrol patterns. These weren't doctors making a house call. This was an invasion force taking position. All Velaran defense ships, this is Central Command, move to defensive positions. Unknown vessels are in our space. Prepare for possible hostile action. Yuna's hands gripped her command chair. This couldn't be happening. They had asked for help. They had begged for medicine. And instead they had invited an attack. The humans had seen weakness and decided to take advantage. She felt sick. Captain, we're being hailed. It's one of the human ships. The flagship, let me hear it. A voice came through the speakers. It spoke Galactic Common with a strange accent. This is Admiral Minho of the Earth Defense Fleet commanding the battleship Soul's Fury. We received your distress call. We're here to help. I request immediate diplomatic contact with your government. We need to coordinate our medical deployment as soon as possible. Yuna blinked. Medical deployment? These were warships, Admiral Minho, she said carefully. We requested medical assistance. You've brought battleships. There was a pause. Then the Admiral's voice came back. Captain, we brought both. Our medical teams are aboard these ships. So are the soldiers who will protect them while they work. We don't send our doctors into danger without the means to defend them. I understand this might be confusing. We can explain everything, but first we need to get our people on the ground. Every minute we talk, more of your people die. So please let us help. Yuna looked at her officers. They looked back at her with confused faces. No one knew what to do. This wasn't how rescue missions worked. You sent hospital ships. You sent unarmed medical transports. You didn't send an entire battle fleet. Ambassador Taehyun will meet with you, Yuna finally said. But Admiral, if this is some kind of trick, it's not a trick, Captain. It's just how humans operate. You'll understand soon. Minho out. The communication ended. Yuna stared at the 7 massive warships orbiting her homeworld. Somewhere on those ships were doctors, and soldiers, and weapons powerful enough to destroy cities. The humans had brought everything. She didn't know if she should feel relieved or terrified. Maybe both. The humans had arrived. Now everyone would find out what that really meant.